listening to Driving Law, a podcast by Kyla Lee about all things related to the rules of the road.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Driving Law podcast. I'm so tired. I don't even know anymore
what you're doing.
Yeah, I apparently forgot I had a commitment this evening. Oops. I got a message being like, "Are you coming?" And I was like, "Oh, right. I didn't write it down.
Oops.
So,
Well, don't write it down. You don't remember it. That's what we often say to police officers on the witness stand.
yeah, and that is why I am so tired, because I've done 2 continuations of 2 separate trials this week, which were primarily me cross-examining police officers for all or most of the day. So just on my feet, using my brain.
I'm tired too. I got up at 6 a.m. on Sunday morning and started driving to deliver alcohol throughout the interior of British Columbia. So Sunday night, I made it late at night to Revelstoke, and then I found out I was going to have to drive all the way to the East Kootenays, so I didn't get home until Tuesday at midnight.
I refuse to think that you delivering alcohol is cognitively harder than me running trials.
No, it's not cognitively harder, but it does feel like it's hard on my body. And I know running trials is actually hard on your body. You wouldn't think it. You know, you're sitting in court and then you stand up and you know, in your suit and you look all lawyerly, but it is exhausting.
Yep, that's why I have these big bags on my eyes. And then, of course, going home, you have your entire day's worth of work that
Still
you
waiting
didn't
for it.
do because you were in trial. So you're putting in a 2-day work day up to midnight, 1 a.m.
Yeah.
doing everything.
No fun.
No fun. Anyway, let's talk about fun. Driving law fun. You had an interesting experience this afternoon after you dropped me off at CBC.
Sure. I dropped you off at CBC and I was thinking I was going to go grab something to eat, but I was actually too tired to get out of the car. So I paid for the parking and I sat in the car and watched across the street on Robson Street, some fellow in a new Mercedes electric one, pull up, park his car, jump out, put a ticket on the windshield, walk away from his car. I think he went into the Subway restaurant, came out about 10 minutes later, took the ticket off his windshield and got in his car, made it unsafe by illegal U-turn, disobeying a traffic control device, and drove away.
Yeah. Now, what did you say to me just before we turned the podcast on? Do you remember what you said?
No. What did I say?
You corrected my legal analysis with something ChatGPT told you.
Yes. So we had a brief discussion about it. What is this? What is this? Is this an offense? Is this what is he doing? So we stopped actually driving back to the office, parked the car, and I ran out to speak with a bylaw enforcement officer who I saw walking by and started to speak with him. Very nice fellow, and someone who apparently knows both of us from TikTok. And
Nice.
We discussed it, and he said, phone 311, phone the city. He said, nothing I can do, but phone the city. And he looked at the photograph because I took a photograph of the actual ticket. And so you could see when that ticket goes, you can see it was issued May 12th in Kerrisdale. I could see that. I'd already looked at that.
Mm-hmm.
So I phoned the city, and the city told me that no, they cannot investigate any offense after the fact, which I told the guy at the city was not true. And so then I turned to ChatGPT to confirm that it wasn't true. And then I started thinking, what offense would it be aside from the parking offense? Now, I don't know, maybe he paid for parking, right? Like that could be, but obviously the intention there was to avoid paying for parking.
Yeah. So Paul thought fraud, theft.
Yeah.
Obvious.
Well, I thought, yeah, it's obtaining the service of that parking
I thought uttering a forged document.
intentionally to not pay for it.
I think uttering forged document. And I'm going to push back on ChatGPT's analysis and
You
if I bet if I
often
did,
do.
it would say you're right to push back.
Yeah, probably.
So
now that I consider it here.
yeah. So the offense is use, trafficking, or possession of forged document. Everyone commits an offense who, knowing or believing a document is forged, uses, deals with, or acts on it as if it were genuine, causes or attempts to cause any person to use, deal with, or act on it as if it were genuine, transfers, sells, or offers to sell, or possesses it with the intent to commit an offense under any paragraphs A to C. So I say, if the forged document is a document that isn't genuine, this is not a genuine ticket that was issued to him
True.
on the downtown Vancouver streets.
Yeah.
It's a genuine ticket, but it is not a ticket related to that event. And he is uttering that document on his windshield to attempt to cause bylaw officers to deal with it as though it were genuine. Oh, this one's already been ticketed. I can move on.
Yeah, that's the idea. 100%.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, well,
That's my interpretation.
here's the thing. As we've pointed out so often, I almost never won an argument with you. And most of the time, even if I disagree, you turn out to be correct in the long run. And the rare occasion when you're not, you will deny we ever had the argument. So
I don't
you don't,
any of those conversations have ever happened.
yeah, exactly.
I've been right every time.
Exactly. So, I thought it's an attempt to defraud the city. Recognizing full well that people just think this is a cute trick. It's not a cute trick. And,
They don't know I know this hack.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. It is a very stupid thing to do because you could actually get into some real trouble. Now, de minimis wise, the city of Vancouver is not going to dispatch a police officer to investigate this.
But they should.
Well,
For deterrence.
but as you and I know, we see how many offenses did we see driving back from there? You got angry with me because you told me that I'm not allowed to look in other people's cars because
You get so upset. The same reason you're not allowed to look out the office window.
I'm not allowed to look out the office window anymore because I see people using their cell phones on their knee as they slide ahead towards the intersection here. And it makes me upset because I don't like people, the wholesale disregard for the law. When I see it, this tells me people are only kept in abiding by the law because they face control. And that's not good. Like I think you and I internally desire to abide by the law. Maybe it's just because we're lawyers, but I think I felt that way before I was a lawyer for the good of the society. So it frustrates me and doesn't speak well about humanity. I suppose that's why it bothers me.
Okay.
But yeah, so you think they should? You think it's, despite the fact that it's de minimis, you think they should send a City of Vancouver police officer out here to come talk to me?
Yes, I do. And I think they should identify who the driver was, considering you have a photo of him, a photo of the vehicle, a photo of him committing the offense, and a photo of the license plate. Pretty much got all the proof. And I think that they should, at the very least, contact him and let him know the jig is up.
Well, there used to be some police officers in Vancouver when I was going to traffic court a lot who I got to know, and I had their cell phone numbers.
Text them.
And I could text them or I could phone them and tell them about something I saw, and they would phone the person and tell them, look, you were observed doing this, and I'm not going to issue you a ticket, but there's probably the evidence that could substantiate it. I'm not going to issue you a ticket, but you better learn your lesson and not do it again. You are now warned.
Yep.
And I think that was a very useful thing for them to do, for the sake of ensuring that the public knows that, yeah, there's scrutiny of them. Like, who is this guy who thinks he can pull up on Robson Street
in his like $150,000
Mercedes
and decide can't pay $275 for parking?
Well, and the city needs the $275. Like, it may just be $275, but the city needs parking money revenue. That is like an entitlement that the population of Vancouver, we have those roads, you pay to use that parking space. And it is taking away from everybody else. It is fundamentally antisocial. It bothers me to see it. I pay to park.
Would you feel differently about the situation if it was somebody in, say, a 1993 champagne-colored Toyota Corolla with 350,000 kilometers on it?
Well, that's the thing.
Like the Mercedes element, and he had the wrap on it too.
Yeah, the wrapped Mercedes, you know, middle-aged guy who should know better. Uh, guy my age probably, maybe a few years older, who should know better. Yeah, I mean, it does lower the sympathy angle for sure. But, I think all of us, if you park, you pay to park, and that's your duty. Just like, you're driving, you don't get in your car after your blood alcohol concentration is in the prohibited range, and you stop at stop signs, and you stop at red lights. Those things are obligations. But in this case, it's essentially avoiding, like it's like avoiding paying for a service just because it's the city. You think you can get away with it.
But what about me the other day where my parking expired before my friend was released from the hospital?
Completely different.
And I tried to renew it, but it was maximum 2 hours in that spot. I had to wait 30 minutes before I could renew it again.
And that's completely different because
Well, I
that is
paid
a
the first
situation
time.
you paid the first time. You didn't intentionally set out to avoid paying for parking.
No, and I just hoped I didn't get a ticket in the intervening
Yeah.
half hour.
And
And I would have paid if they'd taken my money.
you were lucky. Well, that's the thing too. But which brings me back to actually that almost was a defensive necessity situation, because you were picking up somebody from the hospital after they just had a procedure, and that was the purpose you were there, and you tried to time it generously, but these things sometimes take much longer.
Mhm.
And it brings back the defensive necessity that I don't know that you would have argued at your ticket hearing. I doubt you would have disputed the ticket. Because so often when people feel that there's a necessity, it's really like, I'll take it. And, that's the way it goes. Like
Yeah.
if I was in the woods and there was an accident and I'd been drinking, I wouldn't not drive my child to town just because or the injured party, just because I am facing an impaired charge. I would do it, and I'd go into court and say, yeah, these are the circumstances. This is what I did. If you want to give me a conviction for it, I'll take the conviction.
When we thought my grandfather was gonna die, I mean, he did die, but right away, imminently, that he wasn't gonna make it through the night, I had to race to make it to the last ferry and then get off the ferry and race to make it to the hospital. And the entire time I'm thinking, as I am going, speeds I would not normally drive. Uh, if I get a ticket, it's worth it. I'll tell the officer, give me the ticket, I will pay it. Don't keep me here any longer.
Yep. Yeah,
But I also think most police officers in that situation wouldn't ticket you.
maybe not. Maybe not. Similar situation when I drove to the hospital when my father was dying. I don't remember how I drove as a issue, but I'm sure I didn't drive the speed limit. I still stopped at red lights and went, change, God damn it, change.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah.
Because I want to talk about something that's more concerning to the administration of justice than misleading parking officials with your fraudulent fake ticket actions. And that's what happened in Ontario.
So you're talking about,
I am talking about this case in Ontario. I don't know if we mentioned it when it happened or not, but it was written up in the Toronto Star. It was a prosecutor there, prosecuting a man for some pretty serious driving offenses. It was a driving trial.
Yep.
He was charged with dangerous driving, causing bodily harm, assaulting a police officer, flight from police, and obstruction of justice. Basically, what happened was he drove dangerously. The police tried to stop him. He fled from the police. He ran over an officer in the course of it, and then took off and was ultimately located later and arrested and charged.
I didn't think it was quite run over, but in any event, there was like
Because
context.
that was an issue at trial.
Yes, and so there was numerous officers testifying in this case.
Yes, and one of the officers who testified did something that we see from time to time with police: take the stand and actually be quite helpful to the defense. Just tell the truth. And the truth, as they recalled it, was not great for securing a conviction.
Yeah, so there was aspects of the evidence that came out from this police officer that were not helpful to the Crown's case. And unfortunately, the prosecutor was not very happy about it.
No, so after his direct examination and cross-examination was completed, it was alleged that she took him out in the hallway and berated him in front of his supervisor about how he needed to do a better job and he was never going to make it as a police officer if he just folded his tent like that. And he asked her, what am I supposed to do? Lie? And she said, we protect our own.
And the interaction was caught on video without the audio, and the police officer, made notes about the interaction.
Made
Then
good contemporaneous handwritten notes.
It's as you should,
As you should.
and as I regret not doing so often in the course of my life.
You got a little journal there. You should start writing a diary.
Yeah, I carried that journal around for
Years.
I wrote nothing in.
Today, Kyla was right again.
About taking notes. So yeah, it was a pretty disturbing incident when you heard about it, because you know that these things happen, I guess, and you don't see them. They are thankfully infrequent. That a prosecutor is involved in it. You know that it's can happen among police officers and shouldn't happen too.
Yeah.
But it's frightening to see it. We have had some scenarios that approach that, not quite that drastic, in the course of our careers, both of us.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this goes to the
So the defense finds out about this. I think
Yeah.
the officer probably ratted her out. I don't know how they found out about it, but it doesn't really matter.
somebody observed enough of it that it
Yeah.
that it got out.
It got to the defense, and the defense brought an application to have the charges stayed, calling it an abuse of process, violating the accused Section 7 right. Kind of a novel way of attacking it, because, in a situation like that, the officer's testimony obviously came out favorably for them. The Crown Office, quite rightly, removed the prosecutor from the file, the allegation enough being, the thing that would require that.
The prosecutor would then be testifying, one would assume, in the new trial or in that
in the
continued trial.
application. So they entered a voir dire.
Yeah.
On the Section 7 issue, they halted the trial to enter this voir dire. The officer testified and was cross-examined, and the prosecutor testified and was cross-examined, and she denied it. She said all sorts of things in her evidence, none of which were believed by the judge.
Weren't accepted.
Yeah, the judge,
It didn't sound like it was like expressly rejected in the sense of saying you're lying. It's just, I do not accept any of this evidence.
Well, no, not necessarily, because she found her not credible. And in particular, she identified that one of the things she said in her testimony was that she had no need to berate the officer over this, because it wasn't her theory of the case that it happened the way she'd hoped he was going to testify. And the judge was like, that's absolutely untrue. It's completely inconsistent with the way she framed the case in the opening and with how she was conducting the prosecution. This was the theory of the case. To try and say now, halfway through the case, this wasn't my theory, it's just not believable.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the judge ultimately ruled that there had to be a stay of proceedings, that it was, unfortunate because there were serious charges and, affecting the community, and it was itself an administration of justice offense that was on trial. But the reputation of the administration of justice was at stake, and there was no other remedy that could be granted that would repair the significant damage this person's conduct had, not only to the fairness of that trial and the public perception of a fair trial, but also to the reputation of the administration of justice itself.
Which is not repaired by the decision. The decision is good. It's appropriate. I agree with the judge's decision. But at this point, when you have been informed of this culture that exists, and you've learned of this culture that exists of we protect our own, you have to come to the conclusion that there is a deeper problem.
Yeah, you want to peel back the layers of the onion.
Peel back the layers of the onion and find out, obviously, connections between prosecutors and police sometimes can be not quite what you'd hoped or would hope to be, and not separate as much as you would like. That is an issue, especially when you are officer of the court A, but also acting as the Attorney General, and those specific roles that arise as a result of that. But to see it revealed that way tells me you need to investigate further, and that somebody should be appointed to look into
Independent
person to look into
inquiry.
How the police have been trained, if this is part of their culture, day-to-day culture. And of course, to some extent it's going to be, but still,
Yeah.
The public cannot be confident.
But it's why I always make sure to ask the questions that are uncomfortable to ask when you've seen me come back after a continuation, or even, after a lunch break, and I'm starting my cross-examination, and I know the police and the prosecutor have been talking. I'm going to ask about it. Do I know that anything was done wrong? No. Do I have a responsibility to my client to find out what went on in case something went wrong? Yes.
Well, as you know, I've
Ab-
seen it. I witnessed it in the hallway once. I was
Had a
more than once, actually, a few times. So.
witness this week admit to talking about his evidence while under cross-examination. And that's not the first time it's happened.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, not great. That's a little disappointing. But we have like 2 ridiculous drivers. Can we move on to that?
yes. Let's move to the happy part of the podcast. Wait, this isn't happy? Motorcycle?
The motorcycle is international news and would be our ridiculous driver of the week, but for the fact that it's international news. So of course, this was the motorcycle collision that led to the motorcycle being lodged onto the bar that holds the traffic lights at an intersection in Surrey. And when I saw it, I saw it on TikTok. I sent it to Kyla immediately. I don't know where you were. I don't know where I was. I don't remember what day it was. It's this last week has been crazy, but knowing full well that would be the ridiculous driver, but it's trite at this point to make that person the ridiculous driver.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, everybody's seen that motorcycle hanging from the street sign.
So interesting because he's like managed to lodge it, with the wheel over the
And the
top.
rider was apparently like mostly okay.
Well, it's still in the hospital though.
Yeah, but not like gonna die.
Yeah.
Not dead.
Yeah.
You would think.
So the next question is, I was on Mike Smith and people were asking, and Mike was asking, like, they're going to investigate it. They say speed is a factor. How are they going to investigate it? I just said, look, there's video. There's video all over the place. There is video in people's dash cams. There's video from buildings around, and then the next question was, okay, well, but how do you know how fast he was going at the time of the collisions happened? Maybe it's on video and maybe it's not.
You and I know how to calculate how fast a vehicle's going based on a video.
Well, everybody assumes that it was going really fast. I don't think you have to be going that fast to have that collision and end up in that spot.
No, I think you just need the right physics combination. You know who would know? My friend Barry. He would be able to do the math on that.
Barry probably could, because he's like
He's a forensic engineer.
But you and I can also figure that one out fairly well because we've been good at that over the years. But we've also seen now what appears to be AI-generated video.
Yes.
So now the next question is, how do you,
if you've been duped by the video online that shows the motorcycle launching and getting into the sign, you know it's fake because, one, it's grainy quality, which is often AI-generated videos are grainy quality, especially Sorrowville
or
ones.
turned into grainy quality to hide the fact that it's AI.
artifacts. Yeah. But the motorcycle itself is still on the road while it is flying through the air. It's like,
so one version of it stops and the next version of it goes flying and spins a lot of times before it lodges itself there. I watched it after the fact, and I thought, after I was on the Mike Smith show, and I thought, oh, did I misunderstand? Is this all been, and I was duped. And didn't look like it was legit.
but
So
like that's, if there are charges here and that goes to court, are the police going to be duped by the video? And then, now that we know that in this particular incident, there are fake videos out there, how much trust can we place in any video that gets provided in a case like this that attracted this much attention online?
we could probably have a new podcast called AI and the Law.
Only we had
If
time.
only we had the time.
You
Because
have the time.
I don't think I do. Oh my gosh, you probably have the time.
For a
That's so
driving.
maybe I'd have to just be talking to myself. I don't like that was cruel. I don't have the time.
How many trials did you do this month?
Well, it's not an issue of trials. I'm running 3 businesses. And I still conduct hearing after hearing after hearing when you're in
What's
trial.
one?
We still have an advertising company that we run.
I thought we did close that.
No,
Huh.
we're still operating. We still have clients. We're just not accepting new clients.
Oh, okay.
Because we already have too much work. Just like I'm not making another podcast
Don't even know the state of the business that I co-own.
that you own. Yes. So that was that, and that would have been our ridiculous driver, but it became too notorious. So we have a different ridiculous driver.
Yes. So this is in Ottawa, where I was
Yes.
last week, which is why you did the podcast and I did not attend. And
I forgot the ridiculous driver, I think. I don't remember doing a ridiculous driver last week. We didn't listen to the podcast, obviously.
no, I didn't. I was
Too busy.
busy rushing back
Could
to
have
Ottawa.
to it.
Well, you could leave to
Airplane.
go deliver liquor. I was working on the airplane.
It was fun. It was Allison, and me in the old green truck.
Yeah. Okay. So this is a U-Haul. 17-year-old drivers pulled over driving this U-Haul, and the police look in the cargo hold and find like 11 other kids.
Yes. So U-Haul filled with teens. And so this was published, and a friend of mine on TikTok, really nice guy. I think he lives in Ottawa. His father was Pierre Trudeau's driver
Oh.
when Pierre Trudeau was the prime minister, and Pierre Trudeau used to apparently sneak out to avoid his RCMP protection group by driving the driver's personal Volvo P1800.
It all comes back to a Volvo.
So
I mean, this the Driving Law podcast sponsored by Volvo.
So he messaged me and said this was like a common practice for him back when they were in high school, is they would rent for the May long weekend, the May 24 they called it. They would rent a U-Haul. They'd get some sofas and stuff loaded up. All the buddies would get in the back of the U-Haul. They'd drive out to wherever they were going to be partying for the weekend, and they would live out of the U-Haul. And if it was like the weather was lousy, they'd sit in the U-Haul and drink. And if the weather was great, they'd move the sofas outside and sit outside and drink. And basically that was their party weekend on the May long weekend.
Why does that actually sound kind of fun?
It sounds awesome. But
clearly I've worked too hard if my idea of a good time right now is a sofa and a U-Haul.
Well, as you and I have said, there were days back in our early 20s when we could go sit on a patio and drink beer for an afternoon, and then go home and pass out for a while and go out and dance or drink or whatever.
I remember looking at law school through the window of the pub.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I actually went and had to work because I'm not as smart as you, but
I did the readings.
Well, I'm sure you did. Point here is that, yeah, it does sound like fun. It probably is fun, and that it is ridiculous that they're loading a bunch of kids in the back of a U-Haul. I'm sure there's a bunch of offenses there of not seatbelts and not a place to ride and so forth. It's maybe going to put a chill on this if it continues to exist as an Ontario thing. But there's these funny little culture things around the country, and this is a distinct cultural event.
There you go. Well, sorry, kids. You're our ridiculous driver and occupants of the week. Hope you still have a fun May 2-4.
Yeah. And don't rent a van and load it up with other people and drive around.
Yeah. Throw a sofa in the bed of a pickup truck and drive it out to the location.
And then take the sofa out, and don't have people riding in. And don't lodge your motorcycle on a bar across a thing.
Yeah.
Don't berate a police officer when they gave you the honest truth.
Mm-hmm.
And if you park, know that there's somebody else there taking photographs if you decide that you're going to try and be sneaky Pete and put a ticket out there on your windshield pretending to.
Don't do that.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Well, there you go. But if you have done any of these things, or somebody's saying you did, you can...
Don't call us on about a parking ticket, please.
Yeah, not a parking ticket. But if you get charged with fraud for the parking situation, that'd be an interesting case. I'd take that. If you need to give us a call about anything like that, or any other driving law related issue, you can. It's 604-685-8889, or you can find us online at vancouvercriminallaw.com, and tune in next week for another exciting episode of Driving Law.